The sun rose slowly over the white compound. Amara stood by the window, her hands folded in quiet thought. It had been 2 years since she came to Madame William's house. The city that once frightened her had now become her home. She could read and write. She even helped Madame's children with their homework. But sometimes when the morning breeze touched her face, she remembered the village, the cracked mud walls, the smell of firewood, and the voice of her little brother Chinedu. He used to run barefoot across the compound, laughing, chasing chickens, calling her name. That memory still warmed her heart. But it also brought a question she could never silence. "Where is he now?" she whispered. Far away from the shining gates of the city, in that same village she once fled from, life had grown worse. Her father, Mr. James, now drank from morning till night. Her stepmother, Mrs. Linda, shouted at everyone. And Chinedu, once a sweet boy full of dreams, had become a thin, tired teenager. Amara didn't know it yet, but as she watched the city wake up, Chinedu was standing before their family gate, about to face the moment that would change his life forever. The white gate before Amara represented peace and safety. The rusty one before Chinedu stood for rejection and pain. The two siblings, miles apart, were both about to step into different worlds, one of quiet comfort, and one of endless struggle. But destiny had not forgotten either of them. The afternoon sun burned hot over the village of Okoro. Chinedu walked home with torn slippers and dust on his feet. He had searched all morning for work, any kind of work, but every door he knocked on stayed closed. When he reached the small compound, his stepmother, Mrs. Linda, stood by the doorway, her arms crossed and her eyes sharp as knives. "Where have you been all day?" she barked. "Looking for work," Chinedu muttered. "There's no food in the house." Mrs. Linda hissed loudly. "Then go and eat sand. You useless boy. You're just like your sister, both of you bring nothing but trouble." Before Chinedu could say a word, his father stumbled out from the room, smelling strongly of palm wine. His eyes were red and heavy with anger. "You again," he shouted. "You lazy boy. Since that sister of yours left, this house has known no peace. Get out. I don't want to see your face again." Chinedu froze. "Papa, please, where will I go?" "I said go," his father roared, lifting a stick. The sound of the stick hitting the ground sent birds flying off the fence. Chinedu stepped back slowly, tears welling in his eyes. He looked once more at the house where he had grown up, the cracked walls, the small window where he and Amara used to whisper to each other at night, and then he turned away. By evening, he was sitting by the roadside, alone. The sky had turned gray, and thunder rolled in the distance. For the first time in his life, Chinedu had no home to return to. But even as the rain began to fall, a quiet voice inside him whispered, "Keep moving." But even as the rain began to fall, a quiet voice inside him whispered, "Keep moving." That night, Chinedu slept under an abandoned market stall. The floor was cold and rough. A stray dog sniffed nearby, searching for scraps. His stomach growled so loudly that he pressed his hand against it, hoping the pain would stop. When dawn broke, the market slowly came alive. Women arrived with baskets of peppers, tomatoes, and smoked fish. They glanced at him with suspicion. One woman shouted, "Move away, boy. Don't sleep here again." Chinedu stood up weakly and nodded. "Yes, ma." He walked down the dusty road, the morning sun already burning his back. He begged for food, but most people ignored him. Some gave him small pieces of bread. Others chased him away with brooms. But he refused to stop. When cars slowed at the junction, he ran forward and cleaned their windshields with a rag he had found in the dirt. Sometimes a kind driver threw him a few coins, other times, they shouted and sped off. Days passed like that, long, hungry, and lonely. At night, he slept behind shops, curled up beside empty crates. When it rained, he shivered under old cardboard. But deep inside, something kept him going. He remembered Amara's voice from years ago. "Chinedu, no matter how hard life gets, never stop trying." Those words became his strength. One evening, as he sat by the roadside watching the lights fade, he whispered, "Sister, I will not give up. I'll survive, even if the world forgets me." His clothes were torn, his face was tired, but his spirit was alive. In the distance, the city lights flickered faintly, tiny sparks of hope calling him forward. He didn't know it yet, but the road of hunger was leading him toward his destiny. The morning sun was bright when Chinedu walked past a small roadside food joint. The smell of fried yam and stew filled the air, and his stomach twisted with hunger. He stood for a moment, watching people eat. Behind the counter, an older man with gray hair and kind eyes noticed him. "Hey boy," he called out. "Why are you standing there like a lost goat?" Chinedu stepped forward shyly. "I'm sorry, sir. I was just passing by." The man studied him for a moment, then asked, "Have you eaten today?" Chinedu shook his head. The man sighed and said, "Come inside. Sit." That was how he met Baba Femi, the owner of the food joint. He gave Chinedu a plate of yam and stew. Chinedu ate slowly, his eyes wet with gratitude. When he finished, he whispered, "Thank you, sir." Baba Femi nodded. "You look like someone who works hard. If you want, you can help me here. Wash plates, sweep, carry water. I'll give you food and small pay." Chinedu's eyes lit up. "I will do it. I can do anything." From that day, he began to work for Baba Femi. He washed plates till midnight, swept the floor, fetched water, and helped serve food to customers. Every night, Baba Femi would pat his shoulder. "You're a good boy. Keep working hard. One day, life will reward you." Those words stayed with him. For the first time in months, Chinedu had a reason to smile. He had a place to go, food to eat, and a man who treated him like a human being. He didn't know it, but this small act of kindness would shape everything that came after. Time passed slowly, but steadily. Chinedu worked hard at Baba Femi's food joint, day after day, month after month. His hands grew stronger, his body taller, and his heart calmer. He woke before sunrise to sweep the floor and fetch water. During the rush hours, he washed plates, cleared tables, and smiled at every customer who came in. Baba Femi often watched him quietly, shaking his head in pride. "You remind me of myself when I was young," the old man would say. "Life tried to bury me, but I grew anyway. You will too." Those words gave Chinedu strength. But like every season, even good times change. After 2 years, Baba Femi grew ill and had to close the shop. One morning, he called Chinedu to his side. "My son," he said weakly, "I may not be here much longer. But I want you to keep moving forward. Never stop working. Never stop hoping." Chinedu held the man's hand, tears in his eyes. "Thank you, sir. You saved my life." When Baba Femi passed away weeks later, Chinedu buried him with the help of neighbors. Then he packed his small bag and walked toward the city again. He found work as a cleaner in a bus park. He swept, carried goods, and helped drivers load passengers' bags. It was hard work, but it kept him alive. One day, a driver named Musa noticed how fast and honest he worked. "You learn quickly," Musa said. "Come with me. I'll teach you how to drive." That was how Chinedu began his new life on the road. Every day, as the bus sped through dusty streets, he looked out the window and whispered, "Sister Amara, I'll find you someday." The years rolled by. Chinedu had grown taller and leaner. His face had lost its boyish look, replaced by quiet strength. He now worked as a driver's assistant, loading goods and helping passengers every day. The city no longer frightened him, it had become his battlefield and his teacher. One evening Musa the driver, parked by the roadside and handed Chinedu a small paper. "Take this address," he said. "Deliver these boxes to the owner. Be careful, the house is big and rich people don't like mistakes." Chinedu nodded and climbed into the back of the truck. By the time they reached the address, the sky had turned golden. A tall black gate stood before him. The compound beyond looked grand, painted white with glittering glass windows that caught the evening sun. Something in his chest stirred. It felt familiar, too familiar. As he carried the boxes inside, his eyes swept across the yard. A young woman walked past, holding a tray of flowers. Her uniform was neat, her steps graceful, her face calm and gentle. Chinedu froze. His heart began to race. The tray almost slipped from his hands. The woman turned slightly, and in that moment, time stopped. It was her. "Amara," he whispered. She turned fully this time. Her eyes widened, her mouth opened in shock. "Chinedu." The boxes fell to the floor with a thud. Neither of them moved at first. Then suddenly, they ran to each other, tears spilling freely. Amara held him tightly, trembling. "My brother, you're alive." He could barely speak. "I found you," he whispered. "I told myself I would, no matter what." The White House that once symbolized safety for Amara had now become a place of reunion. Destiny had brought them home. The compound was silent, except for the soft hum of the evening breeze. The other workers paused, watching in surprise as Amara and Chinedu held each other tightly in the middle of the yard. Tears rolled down Amara's cheeks. She touched his face as if to make sure he was real. "Chinedu, look at you. You've grown so much." He smiled weakly, his voice trembling. "You look different too. You're shining, Amara." Amara laughed through her tears, shaking her head. "Oh Chinedu, I thought I'd never see you again." For a moment, the pain of the past, the hunger, the cold nights, the fear, melted away. All that remained was the warmth of family, the bond that had survived every storm. The front door opened, and Madam Williams stepped out. Her eyes softened when she saw the scene before her. "What's going on here?" she asked gently. Amara wiped her eyes and turned. "Madam, this is my brother. I lost him years ago." Madam Williams looked at the young man, dusty and thin, his eyes full of gratitude and exhaustion. She smiled warmly. "Your brother? Then he is welcome here." Chinedu tried to kneel in respect, but Madam Williams stopped him. "No need for that," she said kindly. "Family should not bow to family. You will stay here. We'll find something for you to do." Amara gasped. "Thank you, Ma. Thank you so much." Chinedu's voice broke as he whispered, "God bless you, Ma." Madam Williams nodded and turned toward the house. "Go inside, both of you. You must be hungry." As they walked in together, Amara slipped her hand into her brother's. For the first time in years, she wasn't walking alone. That night, the house that had once been just her workplace became something else, home. That night, the smell of jollof rice filled the kitchen. Amara sat beside Chinedu as he ate eagerly, tears glistening in her eyes. Every bite he took felt like a prayer answered. "Slow down," she laughed softly. "There's more food tomorrow." Chinedu swallowed and looked around the bright, clean room. "I can't believe this is where you live, Amara. It's like a dream." Amara smiled. "It wasn't always easy. But Madam Williams, she gave me a chance." He nodded slowly, his eyes thoughtful. "One day, I'll work hard too. I'll make her proud, just like you." When he finished eating, Amara brought out a small blanket. "You'll sleep here tonight," she said. "Tomorrow, I'll talk to Madam. Maybe you can help in the garden or with errands." Chinedu lay down, his body still sore from the road. He watched his sister tidy the kitchen, her movements graceful and calm. "Amara," he whispered, "do you ever think about home?" She paused, her eyes distant. "Sometimes. But that place, it's no longer home. Home is where peace lives." Chinedu nodded, understanding. As the night deepened, a soft rain began to fall outside. The city lights shimmered through the window, and the rhythm of the raindrops lulled them into silence. Amara sat on the edge of the small bed and whispered a prayer, one of gratitude, not desperation. "God, thank you for bringing him back to me," she murmured. "We lost everything once, but you gave us a new start." In the quiet glow of the lamp, Chinedu slept peacefully for the first time in years. His sister watched him with a full heart. The journey had been cruel, but somehow, grace had led them both here, to a new beginning, under the same roof, with hope breathing softly between them. The next morning, the golden rays of dawn crept into the small room. Amara was already awake, tying her scarf as she prepared for the day. Chinedu stirred and rubbed his eyes, smiling when he saw her. "You woke up early," he said sleepily. She chuckled. "In this house, you don't wait for the sun to greet you, you greet it first." He laughed quietly, sitting up. "I'll learn." A knock came at the door. It was Madam Williams. Her warm yet firm voice filled the room. "Amara, who's this young man?" Amara quickly stood. "Ma, this is my brother, Chinedu. He came all the way from the village. Please, Ma, he has nowhere else to go." Madam Williams studied the boy for a moment, her sharp eyes softening. I see your spirit in him, humble but strong. She smiled faintly. Let him stay. He'll start work in the garden tomorrow. Tears filled Amara's eyes. She bowed deeply. Thank you, Ma. God bless you. After Madam left, Chinedu turned to her, his face glowing. Amara, she's kind. Amara nodded. Yes. But she values hard work. If you serve well, she'll help you the way she helped me. From that day, Chinedu threw himself into his new duties. He swept the compound, watered the flowers, and ran errands with quiet determination. The other workers soon noticed him, some with respect, others with envy, but Chinedu stayed focused. Each evening, when his sister returned from the main house, they sat together by the kitchen window, sharing stories of their past and dreams for the future. Maybe one day, we'll have our own shop, Amara said softly. A small place with our names on the signboard. Chinedu smiled. We will, Amara. We've survived the worst. Now it's time to build something better. Outside, the city lights flickered like stars. For the first time, the road ahead didn't look frightening, it looked full of promise. Weeks turned into months, and peace slowly returned to their lives. The once-lost siblings now moved with quiet confidence, Amara in her crisp-made uniform, Chinedu in his gardener's clothes. The compound that once felt too big for Amara now felt like home. Every morning, she served breakfast to Madam Williams and her guests, her movements graceful and sure. In the garden, Chinedu tended the flowers, trimming them carefully until the compound looked like a painting. One afternoon, as the sun dipped behind the trees, Madam Williams called both of them to the veranda. She sat in her usual spot, her gold-rimmed glasses glinting in the light. You two remind me of my own children, she said softly. You've shown me what loyalty and courage look like. I am proud of you. Amara bowed deeply. Thank you, Ma. You gave us a chance when no one else would. Madam smiled faintly. I only gave you the door. You walked through it with your own strength. Later that night, Amara and Chinedu sat outside, watching the stars scatter across the dark sky. The air was cool, the world calm. Do you remember the nights we used to sleep hungry? Chinedu asked. Amara nodded. I remember. I also remember how you promised to find me one day. He smiled. And I did. She laughed quietly, her eyes glistening. Yes, you did. For a long moment, they sat in silence, just the soft rustle of trees and the hum of distant cars filling the air. Amara looked up and whispered, We were broken once, but not anymore. Chinedu reached for her hand. No, Amara. We're unbroken now. Above them, the stars seemed to shimmer brighter, as if heaven itself was smiling on two hearts that had known pain, endured storms, and finally found light again.